LinkedIn and Facebook. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us Wednesday at 1 with the fabulous Megan 18.
Hello.
Hi, thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
So many people may already know you because I would say you are awesome at having created your own personal brand, but you don't do that as a self-employed agent, do you?
No. So, I'm very much employed.
Very much employed. Great.
Very much employed.
How do you think that your employers juggle your personal brand with their branding? Does that make sense? Because I think that's a fear for many employers.
Yeah, of course. So I think first and foremost, I think it's what helped me get my job. So I was working at a different company up until November recently. So I've been there for 7 years. And I think having a personal brand was enough to elevate me to be able to get to the position that I'm at now at my new company. So I think first and foremost, that was a massive part of my career kind of boost. And secondly, I think you have to make sure that the company that you work for aligns with you both personally and professionally. And as long as you align with that, then there's no reason why a personal brand can't benefit them. It opens doors and it creates opportunities for them. But you have to make sure that your personal and your professional brands align, because if they don't align, it ain't going to work.
I think that's a really good point. Actually, on EAN Breakfast yesterday, Mike Nedston and I were talking about values and how actually your personal values influence your brand values and vice versa. So as a reminder to everyone, go over to elwood.co.uk. There's a freebie section and there's actually a value score chart, score list, checklist, not sure. And it's a really useful exercise to go down and work out what your personal values are, because actually we think we know, but until you're presented with all the options, sometimes it's a bit more of a background noise.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think that there's no point working for companies. Like I got approached over the years to work for companies, and I've just been like, no. Like I was like, there was one, and I said to them, "Have you ever met me?" And they were like, "No." I was like, "Do you only know me through social media?" And they were like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, we're not compatible. We do not align."
We do not align. Exactly. So when it's Haslam's you work for now, am I right?
Yeah.
And when you say that actually your personal branding helped you with that job, get that job, do you think that's because actually what you do on social media is consistently, from what I've seen, I'm putting your words in your mouth, but consistently evidence your education, your ability, your values, and you're constantly expressing, actually, I've got this wealth of knowledge, and if you were in my employer, I'd bring it with me. Does that make sense? So they can see how great you are. You don't just turn up at an interview.
I definitely think so. You know, the reason why I sort of, no, totally.
I think it's a bit of a lag. I'm sorry. Weird. Okay. So tell us about, because you're known for TikTok, tell us about how that started.
I think it goes back to like when you're a valuer. I don't know if you were the same, Elle, when you were a valuer, right? Or I don't know, do you still value?
Not now. No.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
My Spanish isn't up to it. Fiddlesticks, what's happened?
Hello?
Are you still there, Megan?
I'm here.
Thank goodness. Okay, lag seems to have passed.
We're caught back up.
Yeah, we've caught back up. You were trying to tell me about being a valuer.
Yes. So when you were a valuer, I don't know about when you were a valuer, that one of the first things I always used to do when I would prep all my val work was go on LinkedIn and add them on LinkedIn. And the reason why I always used to do that was because I could sort of socially profile them. And secondly, it gave them an opportunity to see what I was all about, just in case I didn't quite give them a full rundown while I was there. So by the time I walked into the house, they already knew a bit about me. and they were able to recognize my face and all that stuff. So it kind of starts back there, in my opinion. And that actually it's the same when you go through to a job. If people know who you are and they know what you represent, it's easier for people to accept change. And the role that I'm doing, certainly at Haslam's, is about developing the business. So it's very important that people trust that I'm not just full of crap.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so. We always used to add people on LinkedIn, and even Facebook, depending on your brand, depending how you use your brand and how you use those platforms. But certainly for you working in lettings, I think LinkedIn is phenomenally key. But trying to get that across to some agents, they're like, oh no, that I wouldn't do that. But I think they're missing a trick.
I think that for a while, LinkedIn, like our industry, was quite stuffy. And I think that more so now, I think COVID has massively sped things up, but now we are definitely more approachable as an industry. And I think that you can be a little bit more exposed on things like LinkedIn now, if you want to be. And if you don't want to be, that's fine too.
Absolutely. I think that's what people forget, isn't it? That actually that there's options with social media. You don't have to put your children on it, for example. You don't have to use your children's names or, share that you've got a cuddly toy in the bedroom, or you know what I mean? Like whatever it is that you don't want to share, you don't have to. You do have the option to share the bits that are relevant.
And I think that's important as well. Like if you've got me on LinkedIn and you've also got me on Facebook. So you've got me on a personal platform and you've got me on a professional platform. My personal platform is very different to my professional platform. And it's funny because I don't want people to think I'm being rude, but I've had loads of people try and add me on Facebook and I haven't accepted you. And it's not because I don't like you, but it's just because Facebook is a very different place.
Definitely. And a long time ago now, certainly wouldn't recommend it now, but before Facebook AI got as good as it is, we used to even recommend people had a personal Facebook and a professional Facebook. It's against the T's and C's. They will catch you. Don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Not a good idea. But yeah, at least then you get that bit of boundary, because I'm a bit like you on my personal Facebook. I'm very prone to swearing and sharing inappropriate memes to some people, inappropriate to some people. And I don't need that in my business life. That's what I do for a joke and for a relaxation, but it's not necessarily what I'd bring to the boardroom, for example.
No, totally. I talk about my son on LinkedIn, but I never put pictures of his face up on there. It's always the back of his head or the side of his head. Whereas on Facebook, it's like, well, it's like the Dexter Show.
It's the best show out there to anyone that's not been tuning.
It's very cute. He's a very cute kid. I'm sorry for everyone on LinkedIn that you don't get to see that.
Yeah, they're missing out for sure. So tell us about TikTok. It's not something that I've ever claimed to be an expert on. I use it sporadically, which is against all my advice. Don't use things sporadically. And people don't do what the social media manager does. Do what they say, not what they do. How come you leapt from LinkedIn to TikTok? Because they are such different platforms.
They are. So I actually sat on a social media course that someone at Arla sort of did as like a side thing, just so we all had a bit of an idea of what we were doing. And she was like, TikTok's the next big thing. I think someone needs to do it. And I was like, oh, I love watching videos on TikTok, but I won't. I'll tell you offline what I actually said. But I was like, oh, I just don't think I think I'm too old for TikTok. I think that it doesn't work for what I want it to. And then I thought, you know what? I'm just going to give it a go. I'm just going to see what happens. So I posted up a video and it was like the 5 things we're looking at when we're coming to value your property. And then like that one did like okay, and people started asking me loads of questions. So then I started responding to those questions, and I had one, and it was about pets and property, and it got like 40,000 hits in like 24 hours, and I was like, oh, okay, this is a thing. And it sort of just went from there. But like for me, I'm quite a like a bubbly person, and it's quite a nice way to sort of, I guess, use that in a positive way. So that's kind of why it sort of went from there, really. I honestly didn't think it was going to take off. But, you know, it did. So that's where we are.
And what advice would you give to other lettings or estate agents that are, like you were, putting off starting it?
I think you need to work out what your TikTok's going to be about. I think that's a really important place to start. So if you look at my TikTok, it isn't really about Haslam's. It's not, it's a bit about Property Mark, but in general, it's me. And people don't feel like I'm selling to them. So people engage with it. And that works for me. And I have had business off the back of it. And I know other people have too. And I think if you go in with it as a business perspective and you're doing tours of properties, that's great. But you then can't switch back to being just about you, you know. So you can't, I think you have to decide what you want to put out there, and you have to be consistent with that. I know that if I wanted to be really controversial and be really, you know, like that on the internet, I could double my followers and I could double my likes. It's just not me. I'd rather it be slow and organic, but really true to me, and also represent Haslam's and Property Mark in a way that they're happy with, as opposed to just being like clickbait.
I think that's really key, actually. I think being true to yourself, and I know it's almost a naff phrase, isn't it? And the word authentic gets bandied around a lot, but actually it's because it's really important, because also you can't maintain consistency. And that's so key. If you're faking it, it's so much harder to be consistent, because you've got to get yourself into gear every time. Whereas if you're just being you're just holding a phone up in front of your face and just being you. It's not such a challenge. She says,
no, I agree. And I think it's not such a chore.
Yeah, not such a chore. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. Yes. Now, I know one thing that people say to you often is you must spend hours curating and creating your TikToks. Is that true?
Oh, all the hours. Yeah, no, not at all. I haven't got time for that. You know, I've got a full-time job, a second job, and a child. You know, I haven't got time for that. So I tend to bulk record and then whack them in my drafts. And then when they're in my drafts, I then, yeah, it's like if there's like a TikTok sound that's trending, I'll record it, but I won't necessarily know what I'm going to use it for. And I'll just stick it there. And then when it kind of clicks, then I will. Obviously, sometimes when there's big changes in the industry, for example, or someone asks a question, I do hop on there. But when I say I do it in one take, I literally just go, here we go. We're going to go for it. And that's why sometimes, you know, I get tongue-tied, or sometimes I go off on a tangent. And that's part of it being authentic.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's so true as well, is that you don't have to be scared of the camera. It's not there to judge you. The people behind the camera aren't necessarily judging you. Some might. The bigger you get, the more trolls you get, the more presence you have, the more problems you find. But that's normal for a estate agency anyway. So we should all be fairly used to that
industry, are we? We're not liked. You know, I remember even off the internet, we're not liked. You know, I remember doing a viewing. Yeah, and some kid going, "Mummy, is she a police officer?" And she went, "Oh, no, worse, she's an estate agent." And I was like, "Whoa,
I can hear you."
That's to my face. So, yeah. Maybe that's just happened in Reading. I don't know.
God. Did they buy or let it in the end, or did
you say, they were not even my viewers. They were just random people.
How violent.
But you know, and that's the thing. Like, you get it off the internet. You get it on the, like, how many times have you ever been to a wedding and they go, "Oh, what do you do?" When you're sat at the table, you go, "Oh, I'm an estate agent," and they go, "Oh, I hate estate agents." Yeah. And you think, why? We're all right.
Yeah, we're all right. I think the thing is, there's lots of people that aren't all right in the industry, you know, and or have been historically. Maybe they've been weeded out. But I think doing things like your TikTok, and you know, like I say, it's not my MO, but we've always used Facebook and Instagram more recently, and certainly LinkedIn if lettings is your bag in particular. And we've found it's been such an easy way to break down that barrier for people, because they understand that you're a real person that gets tongue-tied and makes mistakes and isn't the devil incarnate. You know, like, my horns aren't aren't showing, I don't
We're just
think.
hiding them under our fabulous hair.
Exactly. But I think, like you said, it's a great way to break down barriers with potential employers, because you're already interviewing one another almost, and not only that, also with clients. And you've said you've actually got business from your TikTok.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. So it's a really good story. So he found me through TikTok and then reached out and said, look, I've just bought a brand new property in Reading, and he bought it in cash. And I was like, oh, great. So got it on, fantastic. And then I was like, why don't we refinance that and buy you some more? So we did the whole, refinance it, and he ended up buying a further 3 properties, and all of which ended up under management. So actually it ended up with 4 new properties under management. So actually, yeah, people say to me, oh yeah, it's not particularly targeted to Reading. It's not, but people will find you. And if you want to put a hashtag on there for Reading or Berkshire or wherever, you crack on. It's just not what I was trying to do. You can be super specific.
Oh, I've lost you.
Oh,
I heard you speak. Very sorry, everyone, and Megan included. Can't hear you, can't see you. Shout when you're back.
Oh, hello.
There we are. Perfect. Okay, so you said that actually you weren't using even location hashtags on your TikTok.
No, I mean, I obviously talk about being in Reading and I talk about Berkshire, but no, I've never. I'll be honest, Elle, you probably should help me out with that because I'm rubbish at the hashtags.
I think hashtags are only part of the marketing mix, and I think yeah, you can put too much. You can put too much store by them. I was having this conversation with a client the other day, because they were putting hashtag 2-bed property. Well, who in their right minds is searching for hashtag 2-bed property? I just can't picture that person.
My favorite is when they spell it wrong, and it's like, yeah, no one's ever going to find that.
And also, I mean, where you are in Reading, if you do hashtag Reading, it could be hashtag reading, and you're going to attract a load of bookworms. So I think you've got to be really careful with the hashtags. And also, again, like I say, not set too much store by them, and certainly don't use hashtag FYP or for your page.
Yes. Yeah, because you're just getting stuck into the mix then, aren't you?
Yeah, it's too broad. It's never going to happen.
No,
we're only estate agents. Awesome. So how do you come up with your content ideas? Okay, you've mentioned, industry news and if people ask you questions, but obviously when you haven't got an audience and you're starting, people don't ask you questions because they don't care what you think. So how did you, well, they don't, not when you haven't got an audience. So how do they come up with it to begin with?
So kind of twofold. So I try and mix my content with a little bit of humor and then a little bit of information. So the humor side of it I normally mix in with sounds, so you can make most things relevant to the property industry. It's not that hard. And then I tend to think about, okay, what questions have I been asked today? What questions have I been asked this week? When I go on evaluation, what do people tend to ask me? What's the most common question a tenant's going to ask me? And I just kind of do it just purely through my job. And sometimes I'm lying in bed and I think, that'd be a good TikTok. And I'll email myself. And my email at work is just like random comments at me at like 3 a.m, like, oh, there's TikTok on that. So I'd love to tell you there's a massive organizational streak. Actually, I've been trying to be more organized, which is why I bought from you that calendar that did all the name awareness stuff, because then I was able to kind of forward plan some of my content just to take, I've got holidays and stuff coming up now. So I want to be able to have things lined up so that I don't have to worry about it.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point, is that if you have some sort of strategy in place, you can make sure that you're ticking all the boxes for the marketing mix. We've got a calendar for sale that gives you a prompt for every single day of the year. But like you say, we've also got the calendar for sale that lists a load of awareness days that you could create. And Amanda O'Brien from Content 4, she did a great post the other day about be careful with the awareness days. Don't just say, oh, happy, Tick Awareness Week or whatever it was last week, make sure it actually relates back to your life in property somehow. So as a
100%.
countryside agent here, even in Spain, Tick Awareness Week was a useful thing for us to be aware of because we're a countryside agent. So then it's relevant to our audience.
Yeah.
In an urban centre, perhaps not quite so link backable to your audience. I don't know.
We had a great laugh in the office going through the calendar that you sent me that I paid for. It was the random ones. My personal favourite was like Eat What You Want Day and No Diet Day. And then there was Cheese and Wine Day, which I've booked in. So like we booked it in as a night out for the office. So we've got cheese and wine night booked. I can't remember when it is. It might be July, maybe June, July. So we've booked in to go do that because obviously we need to celebrate these days.
They're there for a reason. It's very important.
We mustn't forget Cheese and Wine Day. It would be a travesty.
It would be. Haslam's supporting the entire cheese and wine industry solely.
If someone's got to do it, it should be us.
Yeah. You'll take that burden for the rest of us.
I'll take the burden, guys. Don't worry. I'll do the content for you all.
That's so brilliant. So you've mentioned trending sounds there. Could you explain to people a little bit more about what that even means? One, and two, how you go about finding them.
Okay, so there's twofold. So you got two options really. So when you have your For You page, which is your FYP, as you're scrolling through, sometimes you'll hear the trending sounds. Sometimes it might be someone talking. But if you look at the bottom of the video, scrolling along the bottom will be the sound. And if you click on it, it'll give you the option to save the sound or use the sound. And it's literally as simple as that. So you can store it up for another day, or you can record something then and there. If you think, oh, I could do that with this. You can see what other people have done with the sound. So there's that way. So that's just sort of like a natural way of finding it. Or alternatively, there's actually a way you can search through the sounds. You can look at the top 10 most used ones, the most viral sounds, songs. You can literally go through it. There's literally a top 10 for like everything. You think, oh, do you know what? It's 80s disco national day. I'm going to find 80s disco classics on TikTok and I'm going to make a video about it. Yeah. So there's two ways of doing it.
You make it sound so simple. And I know for one that I've struggled to get the hang of it all. So I think persevering is definitely the key, especially like you say, if you're getting 4 managed properties from one TikTok chat, it's not from one TikTok, but it's from that one connection, then actually that pays for learning it, doesn't it?
And do you know what? Don't lose heart, because sometimes videos, like, don't delete your videos either, because sometimes they come back round. So actually, I was looking just before we came on this call at what my analytics were recently, just like to, it tells you when your followers are posting, whether male, female, all of that stuff. And one of the things that was trending was a video that I filmed in August last year. And like, I didn't see that because it's so far down, but obviously analytics is saying to me, actually, for some reason, and it was a video that somebody had asked me a question about job interview questions, like what they should ask as being interviewed for their first job in our industry. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. So even if it didn't like take a hit straight away, sometimes they just kind of come back around.
That's so cool. I tell you what, I found that on my YouTube. So I have a very tiny YouTube channel called Estate Agent Training. And every now and then I think, oh, I'll pop something on there. But last year I was really focusing on it. And this year I just have not got my finger up my backside and sorted it out. But I had the same thing. I was going through my analytics. I did a post about, I did a video about how to become an estate agent. And it's had like 300 views or something, and I was like, well, where have they come from? Yeah. It's just amazing. And it's just trickling away in the background.
Yeah, you just like, sometimes I was talking about this because I'm doing a TikTok with agents together now to help them promote their message. And me and Sam Offley, we sit on a call each week and we talk about it. And he said to me, is it going okay? I said, yeah, like, you've got consistent videos. And he was like, yeah. He goes, and I said to him, if you look at my videos, and he was like, yeah, but you've got more. I went, no, I have a handful that have got more. The majority is getting the exact same amount of traction as you. It's just that I've managed to somehow tap into that algorithm and get like a viral video. But but the majority of my stuff is doing the exact same thing as everybody else's. So I was like, so just at some point keep doing what you're doing, because it will happen.
Yeah, I think that's so key for all forms of social media. I mean, when I get a new client on board, especially those that are, you know, the bespoke clients that are looking for a return on their not insubstantial investment, and they're like, right, so when can I see the return? And you're like, well, 6 to 12 months at best. You know, it's just not that kind
I mean,
of
it's a bit like when you start a diet and you think, I've been on a diet for like 3 days now. Why am I not a supermodel now? Why do I not look like a Victoria's Secret model?
Yeah. Like, I am Margot Robbie, surely 24 hours off the pot.
Come on. I went and did a run. I should definitely be slinky now.
Slinky. Exactly. No, that is a perfect way of describing it. Maybe I should do a TikTok about that myself on my estate agent social media TikTok.
There you go.
Yeah, organic social media is like a diet. You just don't see the results immediately.
Absolutely.
Very good top tip. Okay, what do you think we should be saying to estate agents who aren't quite grasping TikTok yet?
I guess it depends, because there's some really, really oh look, Chris has just said 6 to 12 months for results. RE marketing, I agree. There you go. Chris Walkie agrees even. And so, oh look, it popped up. How very smart. Oh look, and look at the wine. He's celebrating wine. Cheese and Wine Day.
He is. You would be very good for Cheese and Wine Day, Chris. We need to make you the sponsor.
We're looking forward to that day's post. Sorry, I just like went right off track there. So TikTok, yeah. So I think that the problem is there's some really bad ones on there, like really bad. And I think that sometimes you've got to look at it with a bit of fresh eyes. So like when I set my first one out, I sent it around to a couple of my kind of industry people and was like, is this a good vibe? Like, I'm not saying you should do that all the time, but I think once you get a little bit of a pattern, your confidence builds with it. But I think sometimes people try too hard to fit a trending sound, or they try and do certain things, and it just doesn't work. So don't be disheartened that you can't make. Like, there was someone with some like really, really like gangster rap music, and everybody was, and I was like, I cannot make that work. I'm just gonna have to let that one go. It's just not going to be a good look for me. So my advice is if it's not quite taking off, maybe look at what you're putting out there. Is it useful content? Is that person getting something from it? What's the point of it? Is it just to slag off a tenant, or is it just to slag off a landlord? Because that ain't going to win you any business.
No, exactly. I think adding value, and we always talk about the 5 E's, which are empathy, entertain, educate, empower, and promote. So you can promote yourself. You can maybe drop a couple of houses in, or whatever, but make sure that ideally that's not the sole purpose of it, because otherwise it gets pretty boring.
I think if it's like proper, like, I don't know if I can say like house porn, but like, luxury properties, that's probably a better word. Luxury properties on TikTok, I love watching them. There's some great ones on there. Damien from Fine and Country, he puts amazing videos up there, and when I watch them, I love it. But that's not going to work for a studio apartment in Reading. So think about what you're putting out.
Yeah. No, I think that's an awesome way to end. And if people want to follow you on various platforms, how can they find you?
Well, on LinkedIn, I'm obviously Megan18. And then on TikTok and Instagram, I am Lettings in a Nutshell.
Lettings in a Nutshell, of course. Gorgeous. And that's your own podcast as well, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Forgot about that. Yeah, that's that too.
Amazing. Oh, thank you so much for joining us, Megan. Really appreciate your time. Have a lovely afternoon.
You too. Bye.
Bye, Toto.